Hi, everybody, and welcome. We're here to talk and review Star Trek Picard. This is Season 3, Episode 2. Disengage is the name of the episode. I will say, if you go back and watch my previous review for the first episode, which I will link above and at the end here, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't even going to watch the show, and I am glad I did. So go back and watch the first review so you know where we left off. And in this one, we see that right where we pick up, I will show you. Yeah, there's the mystery vessel, and they've come toe to toe. It's really kind of a cool looking ship. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of the Narada. Um, a very cool looking ship. And then it kind of cuts, and we see Jack Crusher, and it's kind of like doing a flashback, and he's dealing with the Fenris Rangers, and he winds up giving they're boarding him, and he's like, "Hey, we're on a medical mission. We have supplies, but you have to bribe him." So he bribes them with Romulan ale, which is really kind of a cool throwback. We wind up cutting to the Titan. The captain is Sam is not at all happy with what's going on. He's very unhappy with Seven, what the boys have done, Picard and Riker, and he's like ready. Well, they're on their own. They've left Federation space. There is nothing we can do. Seven, of course, tries to step in, and she winds up getting relieved of duty. And because he's all about the rules, and she's not willing to follow the rules. She's willing to break them because of her friendship. Um, then we get the ship. Actually, they were going to take off. Picard and them were going to take off in the shuttlecraft. The big vessel winds up opening fire. Their ship's not in any shape to do anything. They wind up blowing up the shuttle, which of course we find is the Savick. And we find, and if you know the history, Savick from Star Trek 2 and 3, lieutenant at that time, becomes captain. She winds up being captain of her own Titan class from her century. And so they wound up naming this shuttle after her, which they now blow up. Really a cool nod back. Christy Alley was hands down my favorite. Loved her in the role. And then we get to see Raffi, and Raffi feels like she's failed. She's talking to her handler, and through Starfleet intelligence, trying to figure out what to do next. And they're basically saying, like, back off, disengage, don't go near this. Well, she can't do that. And she lets him know that, and he's like, disengage. There's no help for it if you're on your own, and it could be your own life. But we all know Raffi. She's going to do what she wants to do. But they're blaming, Starfleet is now saying that it's Lyric Tulko. And we find out about Sneed, a Ferengi, which is really, really kind of cool. We haven't seen one, although I will mention, if we do zoom in a little bit here, I did catch Morn, and this is Morn from Deep Space Nine. I love the fact that they're bringing some of that into it, because Morn was a fixture in the bar in Quark's bar. So I do love the fact. And so Sneed has been an informant, basically said it was this guy. Raffi doesn't buy it one bit, because it just does not make sense to her that that's who it is. So Jack Crusher's trying to explain everything, Captain Picard's like, whose son are you, kind of thing, and won't answer it. And basically says, look, the ship's damaged. We're in really bad shape. Meanwhile, we cut back, and the captain's ready to go. The one cool thing in this shot that you'll notice is they have, I was able to get two of them. There's two of the Titans. There's actually three in the room. The left one would be the Titan class that Captain Savick would have commanded during her time. And then the next one is William Riker's, the third one. And of course, the third one, which we don't see, is his. So I do love that they've got a lot of little detail, a lot of love to history and fan in this, which is a huge change from all the other Star Trek shows under the Kurtzman. Seven confronts him, or Anna, as he calls her, confronts him and says, "Look, you've got two choices. If you abandon them, then you let them die. We've detected weapons fire. And if they die, you're the captain that let two legends die." Or she's playing on him now. You can be the one to go save the two legends. And you don't know what he's going to do, but that's kind of compelling. The ship, we find out, is trying to beam him over. You can see they're trying to beam Crusher away, so we now know that it's him that they want. But Captain Picard, the sneaky guy, we'll call him Captain. Everybody calls him Captain Picard, which they make reference in here about the number of pips that he has during this episode, which is kind of funny. We'll call him Admiral, but nobody cares about Admiral Picard. They do care about what Captain Picard. Those are inhibitors for transport inhibitors. He has placed them around there that prevents them. And, the ship's sitting there. And then we get introduced to the care captain, played by Amanda Plummer. Yes, Christopher Plummer, who we all know from Star Trek VI, along with many, many great things like Sound of Music and stuff. This is his daughter, who I loved ever since So I Married an Axe Murderer. She always plays really good, maybe psychotic people on the edge. So she's got always this vibe of craziness about her. She knocked my socks off when I found it was her. And I wasn't sure first glance. And then as soon as you hear her speak, you're like, oh yeah, that is her. She was fantastic. She's basically like, look, you can't defeat me. You can't run. And she goes, here, just give me a Jack Crusher and you're fine. We'll just let you all go. And they're like, I don't know if we can do that. She's like, look, I'll even lower my shield so you can scan me. So she does, and they start reading off all these tactical weapons, not just photon torpedoes and things like quantum torpedoes, but they've got very powerful weapons, and a lot of them, many of which are actually banned by treaty. So she's fully equipped. So you now know she's the person, the highly connected person who's been doing all the searching. So right about when it looks like things are at its worst, this is really cool. The Titan goes in and goes right between. They're caught in like this tractor beam, and they basically break the tractor beam, and they now enter the fray. They wind up beaming over the three of them, plus Beverly, who's still in the stasis pod, and it's running out of energy. So it was pretty much in a nick of time. And they're like, look, she goes, you're not in Federation space. You can't do it. And if you run, you're not fast enough. If you try to fight, we have the weapons. You're gone. They're not a warship. They're pretty well armed for what they are, but, they can't do it. So this was cool, something I had never seen before. They use their version of a tractor beam. They're grabbing Beverly's ship, and they use it and literally toss it into the Titan. Even with shields up, it goes right through the shields, causes a lot of damage. It actually breaches the hull and everything like that. And Amanda Plummer, her character says, you've got 1 hour to turn them over. That's what I'm giving you. Kind of reminds me of Star Trek 2, but of course, Khan only gave them 60 seconds. Captain Stanwyck comes up and he's like, look, here's all the different IDs he goes by. And one of them I had to pull up was Johnny Carson. So there were a whole bunch of different ones. There were a nod to Code. There were a bunch of them, but it was just kind of funny. So he's like, Picard, you got about 18 minutes to figure out who he is and what we're doing. Otherwise, I'm going to turn him over because my crew comes first. So Picard goes down into the brig and starts talking with him and trying to get out. He's like, look, just tell me whose son you are. Tell me about this. And he doesn't get a lot of information. Meanwhile, Raffi had met with her husband and basically said, I know you can get me in the back room with Sneed. And he's like, look, you got two things. You've been trying to talk to your son, their kid, and I'll do one of two things. If Starfleet's more important, I'll do the introduction. Or you can leave it behind and be with your son and us. And of course, as always, she chooses her Starfleet duty, and hence she gets the meeting with Sneed the Ferengi. He was really cool. We haven't seen Ferengis in a while. It's all about the Latinum and the wealth, and he's trying to figure out if she's on the up and up. And he basically makes her spray herself with a drug to prove she is, and she's like, there, now it proves it. And he goes, yeah, not so much. I'm the one who turned him in, and of course I don't keep loose ends. And he holds up the head because he really is behind all of this and knew that she was full of it in the first place. Things go south. She starts trying to make a run for it, but the drugs has her down. And who comes to her rescue? We get to see Worf. The Klingon music is playing. The anthem is playing in the background. Very reminiscent from Star Trek the Motion Picture. Just absolutely love it. He's got his new weapon, so his third new type of instead of a bat'leth, his new weapon, and he takes out the guards, and he winds up rescuing Raffi, and he goes, I told you to disengage. And just awesome to see him. I love how they have the gray and everything in it. And Riker comes on board. Things aren't looking very good. The captain is ready to turn over Jack Crusher. And all of a sudden, Beverly comes on board with Riker. They can see this nice, happy family reunion. And then her and Picard have this gaze, and you can see as they switch back and forth, is he my son? We did a really cool close-up going, yes, that is your son. And what's cool about it is Picard immediately turns around and says, I am taking command on Admiral Authority. Fire photon torpedoes, get us out of here. And they immediately take a direct route. You can see the torpedoes going in. Buys them just enough time to delve into the nebula and hide. So is this going to be like a Star Trek 2 Matara Nebula search? It's kind of feeling like that. Captain Sam was like, yeah, I hope you know what you're doing now, because all of these lives hinge on everything that you do. And this is where the episode ends. Again, one thing that this did was it had an awful lot of really fun dialogue. The actions were good. It did build a lot of it up. The timeline doesn't quite make sense if it's Picard's son. When was this after they left from the timeline? It couldn't have really been when they were on the show, unless something happened. And remember when Pulaski came on and for a while and Beverly wasn't on the show, maybe she had the child off screen. We don't know. So a few things don't make sense, but we just need to fill in those gaps. And I'm starting to think we're actually going to get real tie-ins and real tie-ups. So I'm very excited. This was a fantastic episode. I loved it. That's 2 in a row. I'm starting to have a little bit of hope here. And I'm going to give this one a CGC grade, like we always do, of an 8.5. Our CGC is what they grade comic books in, and it's from 0.5 to a 10.0. Nothing ever gets a 10.0. It's a unicorn. This was another solid, fun episode, and I think I'm in for the haul for this season, unless this takes a complete right turn. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do get a chance, I'll leave the link down below. You can check out Kor-Drath The Reckoning. That's the project Andy and I are doing, the comic book and the role-playing game module. And I'll leave that all down below. And thank you very much, and live long and prosper. Hit the like and subscribe button, and leave your comments down below about this or any of the other videos that we do. We will talk to you soon.